Hey folks, Dolph Van Dale here, and I think I'm finally ready to shoot the 2025 vinyl tag video. Man, y'all are getting a little crazy with the start times though. I think I'm already a month behind and it's only June 14th. So, but I looked at the questions, they look great. I've been watching the videos and enjoying them immensely. So, let's jump in here. I guess, as usual with this channel, better late than never. So, all right. First, the best purchase of 2024. I wish I could show it, but it's not here yet. But it was bought back in August. So, in August, there was a Kickstarter set in motion for Russ Taff's brand new album called Cover Story. Cover Story is going to be exactly kind of what it sounds like. Cover songs. There's going to be some spiritual songs in there as well. It is an absolutely fantastic album. It was produced by John Mark Painter of the duo Fleming and John, which you probably haven't heard of, but you should because they are fantastic. And then Steve Taylor, who is a well-known Christian musician who has done his own stuff that's been very popular, but also as a kind of putting on the record exec hat, he's also the guy that started Squint Records, which gave us Sixpence None the Richer back in their Kiss Me days. And yeah, so they're responsible for this album. It's going to be fantastic. There are some great covers. If you go on YouTube, I'll put a link in the description. Or you can search Russ Taff, People Are People. He did a cover of Depeche Mode's People Are People, and that's on YouTube right now. The album doesn't officially release till January 31st. But there are some other great covers. U2's When Love Comes to Town. Simon Garfunkel's Sound of Silence. Wow, he did a great job on that. There's a spiritual song at the very end called The Poor and Powerless, which just blows me away. I can't wait for this album to get here. I had hoped to have a unboxing on it up already, but there was a problem at the manufacturer, so hopefully I'll get it in the next couple weeks. Maybe even ahead of the actual release time. But just excited about that album. Wanted to let you all know about it. 50 years later. So we're talking about the year 1975. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be showing Springsteen's Born to Run. Probably my favorite Springsteen album. Can't think of any album that I reach for of his that I reach for more than this one. Fantastic album. There were two others that came to mind. Of course, I listen to a lot of Christian music, so also Paul Clark and Friends. Good to Be Home. On this album, he had Phil Keaggy as his guitarist, and Phil Keaggy, of course, being one of the top guitarists in the world. Yeah, I love Phil. Absolutely my favorite. I can't think of a better guitarist than Phil. Phil Keaggy also played on this album. It's called Second Chapter of Acts. That's the name of this trio. Brother and two sisters. The album's in the volume of the book. And yeah, so Phil Keaggy played guitar on this. A guy named Michael Omartian played on this as well. And if you don't know Michael Omartian, you should, because he was a huge producer back in the 70s and 80s. Produced a ton of big names. I'm talking big names. And produced Christopher Cross in his days, like Sailing, that kind of stuff. Also on here, I believe there was some bass playing by Michael Ben, the late Michael Ben, who was, the kind of the primary member of The Call. Yeah. So there you have 1975. There's some great albums. An album that defines a genre. Wow, that's kind of tough to define an entire genre because there's usually within genres so many subgenres. One of the first albums that came to my mind, if you really want to talk about hard bop and jazz, and that's Miles Davis' Kind of Blue. Love this album. Back when I was first discovering jazz, I'd watch BET on jazz. And I can remember seeing a video for So What with Coltrane just tearing it up. And man, so good. And after I saw that video, I just had to go out and buy this album. So, yeah. Miles Davis, Kind of Blue. Best band from your home country. This is one of those questions that kind of got me because I'm thinking best band. I don't know that I have an absolute top favorite band, and what genre are we talking about? I decided to go with a band probably not a lot of people have heard of, but I love dearly, and that's a Christian rock band by the name of DeGarmo Key. Saw them so many times when they were touring on this album. This is D&K. Yeah, just blues-based rock, and they really could tear it up. I miss Dana Key, the lead guitarist and lead vocalist. He died so young, and but man, this is a great album. This is actually numbered 3389 of 10,000. So I remember when they did the promotion for this, they wanted to get their music out more. So if you bought the cassette of this album, they gave you a second cassette to give away to a friend. And yeah, cool concept. And one of the rare things about this particular album. But yeah, love DeGarmo Key. Saw them so many times in concert. An artist that you miss dearly. I'd have to go with Larry Norman. And he's looked at a lot as the father of Christian rock. There were other people starting to do use more popular musical forms with the gospel message, but yeah, he was a pioneer. But he was so brutally frank with his lyrics, and we live in such a crazy world. I think he would cut through all this political crap that we go through in this country and speak some truth that probably would offend both parties, and they probably both need to be offended. They both offend me enough. So yeah, I miss this guy. I wish he was around to kind of set the record straight. Best live album in your collection. That's tough. I looked at Iron Maiden, looked at Kiss, but came up with this young lady, Eva Cassidy, Nightbird. We lost her way too soon. But this album really, it was originally called Live at Blues Alley, but it's been repackaged a number of times. This is a more expanded version. I guess they decided to give it the name Nightbird. There she is on the back. This is a 4-record set, but she could take a song and just make it her own. I don't know that I've ever heard a voice as pure as hers ever. And she could sing everything from incredibly softly with such restraint, and then she'd turn around and just be an absolute powerhouse. Now, what a voice. I wish we hadn't lost her. She died back in the 90s from cancer. And yeah. Eva Cassidy, Nightbird. Oh, and while I'm at it, I pulled this to show as well. This is the CD. I found this CD DVD. It's actually got a DVD with it. 2 CD DVD. I found it at a thrift shop for $1.50. Wow. One of probably the best pickup I found in a thrift shop this year. Your partner just dumped you. What are you putting on? Buddy Miller, Cruel Moon. Man, this guy is right up there with Johnny Cash and Willie Nelson as far as I'm concerned. What a country artist. And this album, oh man. Songs like Does My Ring Burn Your Finger? I'm Gonna Be Strong. Looking for a Heartache Like You. Cruel Moon. Somewhere Trouble Don't Go. There's so many great songs on here. Sometimes I Cry. I'm Too Used to Loving You. I'm Not Getting Any Better at Goodbye. Tell me this album wasn't made for this question. It's a gatefold, but it's a single album. But there's a good picture, Buddy. What a talent. What an absolute talent. This next question was one of those questions. I mean, it best sounding drums on an album. Come on now. I heard it wasn't best drummer, but I'm not going to break my brain. One drummer that I love immensely, and I love is drumming, and it's Ted Kirkpatrick of Tourniquet. And I got 2 copies here of the same album. Obviously different pressings. This one's autographed. Yeah. So I love this album. It's the debut of Tourniquet. It was just probably one of the earliest thrash albums that I fell in love with, that I really hadn't heard much thrash probably before this. But yeah, Tourniquet. Stop the Bleeding. This is good stuff. Favorite artist who's a member of 2 bands. I really tried to stay just vinyl as much as I could on this vinyl tag, but can't with this one. Mike Rowe of the 77s. That's him right there in the picture. What's up with the cover? Well, I believe they initially wanted to call this album Pray Naked, which just meant pray honestly. But the Christian music industry flipped out, and so I'm guessing probably this picture is Michael Rowe's way of thumbing his nose at them. It's a fantastic album. Music's just outstanding. Blues-based rock, but with kind of an alternative bend. And Michael Rowe has so many different musical influences, and he and all those guys, they have so many different musical influences, and they don't hide from them. They just do whatever they want, and it makes for some great music. The other band that he was in is this band, the Lost Dogs, which is kind of a super group. Can you be a super group in a Christian, with Christian rock bands? Because All right, so it's Mike Rowe of the 77s, Terry Scott Taylor of Daniel Amos, Derry Dartery of the Choir, and Gene Eugene, the late Gene Eugene of Adam Again. All four wonderful, wonderful bands. Nobody knows about them. Not a lot of people know about them. They have followings there, but they were never really heavily promoted. But yeah. So anyway, they came together and did this Lost Dogs album called Scenic Routes. It's kind of Americana, country-ish, and also folk influences. This needs to be on vinyl. This is an outstanding album. Great songs like You Gotta Move, Built for Glory, Made to Last, Bullet Train. Absolutely wonderful album. And yeah, so Mike Rowe is my answer because he's in both the 77s and the Lost Dogs. And he's actually in more than that because he and Derry Dartery sometimes do stuff and call themselves Kerosene Halo. Yeah, so that's the answer to that question. Beatles or Stones? Now, you would think as much as I love blues-based rock, I'd be Stones, but if we're sticking to vinyl, I really haven't chased the Stones that much on vinyl. I've been picking up both Beatles and Stones on CD, but it's the Beatles that I've been working on getting some of these new represses. Yeah, so this was actually a gift to me. Great, glad to have it. So I guess my answer would be Beatles. You found a bag of weed. Who are you listening to? I've never smoked a joint a day in my life. I have no plan to. But I'll tell you a funny story. A couple years ago, I was applying for a job, and they gave me this drug test on a stick. And it must have been old or something, because it took forever to do, because you have to put it in your mouth and get spit on it. But it took forever to get the amount of spit on it that I needed to. It was like it was old or something. And then I tested positive for THC, and I'm thinking, how? I don't understand. But I just took a urine test, and it showed that I didn't have. Well, all right. So I worked in a halfway house, and I learned that your body naturally produces a little amount of THC. So if you do like a stick test, urine stick test, the THC line's never going to be perfectly solid like it would be with some other drugs. But there was no reason for me to test positive. All that being said, I was stressed out. I hadn't taken the urine test yet. And I was worried. I was thinking, what in the world? Is there something that I've taken that would cause me to have a positive test? I'm racking my brains. I'm stressed. I called Scott Waters, and I told him about it. And I've joked with him. The only way that I can think of that I would test positive is if I got a contact high from listening to Willie Nelson. So I guess that's my answer. If for some reason, I can't imagine smoking it, but if I ever get the opportunity to do some of that THC rub on my knee for my arthritis, maybe I'll listen to some Willie Nelson while I do it. So yeah, that's the answer to that question. An album from the 1980s you still listen to. This group doesn't always get a lot of love in the VC, but yeah, my favorite album from U2, The Joshua Tree. Yeah, fantastic album. I love it from the very start. In fact, when they went on the reunion, or not a reunion tour, but when they went on the anniversary tour of For Joshua Tree, I saw them at Cardinal Stadium, and it was outstanding. Yeah. Question 15. Show a run of 3 great singles. Well, this is one of those questions I'm not going to break my brain over, trying to figure out whose singles went where. I just pulled out my 45s, went to the artist I have the most of. I'm going to show you 3 that I really like. Rick Springfield, Bruce. This single, there's a little blurb here talking about how they completed it without him for this album that they put out of some of his early work. And this particular song, it is funny because it talks about, it's Bruce, and it talks about folks confusing him with Bruce Springsteen. But I think it's a clever song. I thought it was funny. From the Hard to Hold soundtrack, Love Somebody, one of my favorite Rick Springfield songs. Not much to say about it. This was a huge hit. And then finally, Rock of Life. And he was on quite a roll, but I hear he had an accident in an ATV maybe. And he was laid up for a while and couldn't really tour and promote the album. So, yeah, Rock of Life. Show a favorite record label. I've got some favorites. I love Girder, the new Backbreaker that Girder has started. Boone's Overstock with Brutal Planet and Bombworks. Their combined label, Limited Run Vinyl. Then there's Rocks Records, but I gotta give it to No Life Till Metal because it's one of our own. Scott's Imprint. This is Slaughterhouse. I'm going to be doing an unboxing on a bunch of records that I got last November that I have not shown yet. I'll give you a little bit of a peek. Well, one, how about that cover? But they got so brilliant with the vinyl on it, and I'll give you a little peek. So it's a blood splatter vinyl. And I've listened to it. It's thrash. It's good. And I'm always excited about No Life Till Metal titles. Scott sends me little peeks at stuff, and I'm excited about what's coming up this year for No Life Till Metal. A record store day purchase that you consistently listen to. I listen to my record store day purchases pretty well, but probably reach for this one the most. Dylan and the Dead. Great vinyl on it. But yeah, I'm a huge Bob Dylan fan, so I don't have much Grateful Dead stuff. Maybe I need to change that. So, Dylan and the Dead. You can be reincarnated as any artist, dead or alive. Who will it be? That's a weird question to me. But now, when I was a teenager and I was singing in church, if there was one guy that I was really wanted to emulated, Russ Taff. Greatest singer ever. That's my opinion, but best 3 lines in a song. Want to go with Rick Elias and the Confessions. The song is Stones. And first of all, he was a world-class songwriter. He unfortunately passed away from a brain tumor a couple years ago. Oh, man, he could also be a guy that I miss dearly because what a lyricist. But he wrote on that song, I Am David, I would murder the innocent to have what I desire. I am Peter, who would drown out of faith as I walked upon the water. Black as coal, yet made white as snow by the red, red blood, the red, red blood. There are no secrets. Great, great lyrics. There's the band. That's his wife, Linda. Rick Elias and the Confessions. An album you never tire of. Probably my favorite album of all time. What I consider to be the best album of all time. Russ Taff, Under Their Influence. It's a lot of old spiritual songs. Some of them, when I tried to do a deeper dive on this a couple years ago, I couldn't even find all the writers of the songs. Some of them are public domain, I think. And yeah, but Russ with James Holohan, man, this started out as a project. Russ said he was recording some songs for his mother who was dying, and record exec, he played some of the songs for a record exec. He said, record exec said, "You give us 4 or 5 more songs, we got a record." And he did, and I'm trying to remember what award did he win, a Grammy or a Dove for this? I can't remember off the top of my head, but he got an Album of the Year win for this. So that would be my answer. Share your favorite VC channel. Well, I'm going to spread the love a little bit here. I think Scott Waters and Jeff McCormick, Mega Jeff. Yeah, I watch both of those channels faithfully. Scott's always showing great stuff that he's working on, and the stuff, and then the other stuff. He really influences me on a lot of the heavy metal purchases I make, and so does Jeff. I like Jeff's because I have found some good deals following his lead. So yeah, I don't miss those guys. So that is my wrap up for the 2025 vinyl tag. Got a lot of good stuff coming up. I'm planning on shooting a lot of stuff that I have from the past quarter that I've just not felt up to because of my health. Just not felt up to getting done, but I'm going to get them done. And I'm getting the bug back. I'm starting to really enjoy putting these videos up, and definitely loving the interaction. So I hope everybody will hang out. Hope you're doing great. Hope life's treating you well. And we're going to do this again real soon. And until then, peace.